Hello and welcome. I am so happy to be here today, and I am just going to get started right away and start sharing my screen with you so we can get into this training. So give me 1 second to get us in there. All right, so now let me present. Here we go. All right, here we are. And again, thank you so much for being here at the club by Cali Fit Body. This is our our monthly masterclass. And today, sorry, got some people coming in. So this is our monthly masterclass. And this month we are actually, okay, let me just wait 1 second. We got a few people dropping in. Hi, welcome in. Hey Gary, hey Deborah, so good to see you guys here. So I want to make sure that I don't go too far over time. So I am just going to get started right away, just so you guys know it's recorded, and I'll just let people in as they come. But thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. This is the Club by Cali Fit Body. This is our monthly masterclass series, and today we're talking about Master the Moves, the top 5 exercises everyone should be doing. So as we dive in, before we get started, I will just quickly introduce myself if you don't know me already. My name is Heather May, and I am one half of Cali Fit Body, and my husband Tony and I are the co-founders of Cali Fit Body. We're also 20-year fitness veterans. We are fitness entrepreneurs for over 20 years. Together, we have a plethora of certifications and expertise. We are truly obsessed with helping you create your best life in your best body without extremes. We are also busy parents, and we definitely walk the walk. We cut our teeth in the fitness industry down in Southern California, but we have relocated to Northern California, where we live with our 2 kiddos, and we run Cali Fit Body. So welcome. It is always a pleasure to have you here, and we are so excited to dive in. So a little bit of housekeeping. This will be recorded. All of the recordings live in a playlist for you in your vault, and that playlist is you're able to access all of our past recordings, all of our trainings as part of your membership inside of the club. So the link to that is in a YouTube drive, and if you don't have access to it or you don't remember where the link is, I'll make sure that I send it in the recap email that I'll be sending out on Thursday. So a couple other things to just keep in mind. For 2024, our plan for the club, we took a totally different turn, and we wanted to focus on the 4 foundational habits. And that is exactly what we've done. We've broken each habit into a quarter, and we prioritize them in order. We are now already into quarter 3, and that is tracking. But in Q1, we focused on steps, trying to get you to hit a minimum of 7,000 steps. This is part of your just daily activity. This really does help you to understand the difference between your sedentary life and your active life, so that steps are a great indication that you are getting out of the sedentary. In Q2, we stepped into focusing on protein. I gave you the goal of 100 grams of protein every single day, and that is just your minimum. It's not, I didn't make that strictly based on you, but for most every individual, hitting a minimum of 100 grams of protein is an excellent target. So that needs to become your baseline, and then we can individually adjust that based on you, your stats, and your goals. Now we're in Q3, and Q3 really works with the protein habit quite well, but Q3 is all about tracking. So it is understanding and mastering the habit of really being mindful with what you're eating. And we have, technology. We've made it so easy to keep a food journal now, easily start to add things into your app. And, these apps are so smart. We have the data collection right inside of the club, or you can use the MyFitnessPal, but they remember. So both of them, we built ours to mimic the MyFitnessPal. So ours does what MyFitnessPal also does, but it keeps records of what you're eating. So it makes it easier and easier day by day to add in what you are eating for the day. And I will tell you guys, just to give you background, I'm on day 105 already of tracking, and it is so easy now because I'm eating the same things, like repeat those same things. It's so easy to just click and add them. I know at first it can be a little clunky, but it's been an incredible habit to not only connect me with my nutrition and to kind of like adjust in the moment those choices that I'm making. But it is also really helpful because we don't always have control of all the food available to us, but we can control what we track. Okay, and Coach Tony has also been tracking, and of course he's lost almost 25 pounds tracking. I haven't lost any weight, but it's been a great reminder of just being mindful of the food that I'm eating, and I don't have to wonder, oh, should I have eaten more? Oh, or maybe I think I'm still hungry and really I'm just, should probably drink something and go to bed because I've already eaten all my calories. It's a great habit. When we come into Q4 will be the intermittent fasting habit, and I will talk more about that as we go on. I just want you to know where we're headed. So that really this year was 4 foundational habits, and it's been really incredible. I know personally, me being able to dial it back and to focus on those things, even as a 20+ year fitness veteran, like these are the foundational things, and I'm so grateful that I focused on these things. It makes the like mindset around like what I need to do so much lighter. Like if I just focus on this, like the details take care of themselves. Finally, I want to remind you guys that the one-to-one coaching calls that you have access to are absolute gold. That's our opportunity to connect. You can ask me questions. You don't even have to be sure what you want to ask me when you get on the phone, but you have access to 4 calls as part of your membership this year. And these are of really high value. So please take advantage of these. Again, in the recap email, I'll make sure that you have the link. And even if you're not in the app, so we really house most of our content and conversations inside the app, but it's not the only way to work with us. It's not the only way to take advantage of your membership. These one-to-one calls and being on our list are another major part of it. So you don't have to be using the app. You can be doing your own thing, and you can just get supported by an expert in the field. So please make sure you're booking in those calls. Okay, so now let's get into it. Today's masterclass is Master the Moves That Matter. These are the 5 essential exercises that everyone needs to be doing. All right, I want you to know that when we were picking these moves, there was a lot of back and forth. We didn't just pick these moves randomly. We wanted to come up with the exercises that were going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And we wanted to talk about how these moves will make your daily life better, as well as improve your fitness. Okay, so we had some criteria in mind when we were picking these, and just so you can see like where our head was at, we wanted to pick exercises that were going to be net positive for overall fitness. And so we were, in our minds, it was like, if they're only doing 5 exercises, only 5 things, what would they be? We wanted to choose moves that were going to mimic your real life movements, so that this is the term functional exercise. Like we wanted to mimic and improve your daily movement patterns. We wanted to have a focus on full body strength development. We of course are looking always to injury prevention and improving lower body strength, because we now know that if we improve lower body strength and we focus on that lower body strength, that correlates with a longer health span. So lifespan, how long you're living. Health span is how long you're living well, how long you're living healthy, pain-free, you're mobile, and we wanted to focus our attention there. And then functional movements, like I said, are those real life activities. Now, this list is not exhaustive, but we did go back and forth to experts, and this is our list that we came up with. So the big reveal. All right, and I'll break down each one, but we have incline walking, squats, overhead presses, planks, and deadlifts. These are the 5 big guys. Now I will tell you, Coach Tony wanted to make deadlifts lunges, but I pleaded my case and we got to where we got here. So let me tell you why briefly, and then also we'll break down individually each exercise. So we want you training for life, okay? These are everyday movements. Okay, for instance, I don't want you just walking, but I want you to challenge your walk. So when we talk about these are everyday movements, okay, so but how can we add the challenge to them? That's when we add the weights to them. That's when we add repetitions. That's when we add a little bit more of a challenge, so that when you encounter these daily moves in your real life, once we've trained on them, they're easier. They become much easier. So walking on flat is going to be so much easier when we've trained yourself to walk on an incline. When we're talking about squats is literally you just lifting and lowering your body. Hey, this is a movement you do all the time. I want you to be good at that. I want you to be able to do that in all situations, whether it's the couch or your bed or off the ground, okay? Putting something over your head and lowering it down. Like the easiest one for you guys to visualize is putting your carry-on up on above you, right? And then taking it down. But this is also putting away groceries, getting something off of a shelf, putting your kids up, like that, picking something up over your head, and then also lowering it down. This is your overhead press. We need you to have that strength. When we're talking about a plank, this is pushing yourself off the ground. I want you to be able to get up and off the ground and lift your entire body weight up off the ground. And deadlifts is just you picking something up off the floor and then lowering it back down without injuring yourself. And we will talk about all of these. Does that all feel good so far, you guys? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let's get into incline walking, okay? Yeah, cool. Thank you, Deborah. All right, so incline walking. Let's talk benefits first, okay? And it's cardiovascular health. So we are going to have your steps as your everyday focus. This was your number one habit in Q4 was your steps are an everyday focus. But when we talk about incline walking, now we're really talking about exercise. So steps are just your daily movement. This is getting you out of a sedentary lifestyle. But when we talk about incline walking, now we're talking about exercise and really boosting your cardiovascular health, focusing on your lower body health, and then also mental wellness. So anything that has to do with moving your body, pumping your heart, this is going to help with your mental wellness as well. So when we're doing incline walking as exercise, 3 to 5 times a week, you could be adding that. And that could be in tiny doses. It can be just 20 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, a couple times during the day. And then our incline prescription here, 5 to 12% incline, your pace 3 to 4 miles per hour. And really this is all about how your stride and how how tall you are. You could go above this if you want, but we're really just looking for a nice, easy stride when it's incline walking. But when you're talking about putting it up on the incline, like you can be sweating, your heart's going to be pumping for sure. Okay, so let's do a little form check real fast. So form check, I gave myself like a little bit of space so I can show you guys a slight demo, but when you're walking on the treadmill, and I gave you notes here, like this does not have to be on a treadmill. This can be on a hill. You can substitute stairs. And then if you want to take it up, you can add a weighted vest. But when you're walking, it is your spine is stacked, and then your legs are strong, your arms are long. Like the higher the incline, the more that you're like swinging your arms nice and long. The higher the incline, the slightly you'll lean into the hill. You don't want to be standing straight upright when you're on a very tall or very steep incline. So it's just slight though, more steep the incline, the more you'll lean slightly in, and you want nice long strides. This isn't power walking. This isn't just crisscrossing your feet in front of each other. It's nice power strides. Each foot stays in its own lane. You want to take this up a notch. The incline alone will really get your heart rate pumping and get you dripping with sweat, but you could add a weighted vest to that if you wanted. So 3 to 5 times a week, and then your minutes are 10 minutes to 20 to 30, just depends on where you are with your cardio and how you're adding that in. Number 2, I'm going to take a quick sip. I want to let you guys know too, if you've got questions, whether they're have to do with what I'm presenting here or just questions in general, drop them in the chat. You also see in the chat that I made sure that you had the link to the list. If you're not already on my list, I feel like I've seen most of you on my list. Raj, I don't know if you're on my list, but if you're not on the list, click the link, get on the list. I'll be sending the recap for all this, and then I'm also sharing one more bonus exercise that I'm totally obsessed with, just with my people on the list, okay? All right, let's talk squats. Squats are you lifting and lowering your body. This is the big muscle mover of your lower body, okay? This is for muscle strength and endurance, joint health, and mental wellness. And again, anything that has to do with strength training and exercise is going to improve your mental wellness. This is also benefits your metabolic health because your quads, and then when we get into the deadlift, we'll talk about hamstrings, but the legs are such a huge muscle group in the body. This is going to be part of your foundation for your metabolism. The healthier the muscle is, the more muscle that we have, and the healthier that it is, the higher your metabolic rate is going to be. So the more metabolically flexible you're going to be, that just is going to allow you to have a freer range of the food choices that you have, the activities that you choose, because you are just more metabolically adaptable. Okay, the frequency for squats, I want you to include those in your strength routine 1 to 2 times a week. So 2 times a week if you're not going very heavy, 1 time a week if you are really focused on like improving and increasing your personal record, like your PRs in your squats, then 1 time a week is plenty, but otherwise you're going to be focusing on them 1 to 2 times in a week. And your sets and rep range can range from muscular endurance to strength building. And if you hang with me till the end, I'm going to give you a sample exercise, a sample program for both a beginner or a muscular endurance program and a strength building program. And I'll let you see how those sets and reps shake out. Okay, form check for this, give you guys a quick demo. Feet are shoulder, let's see if we can see. So feet are shoulder width apart. So hip width apart, right underneath my feet, right underneath my hips, shoulder width apart at the heel. My heels are lining up with my shoulders. My toes are only slightly angled out, not a huge turnout, only slightly. And then when I sit back, my knee follows my toe. Okay, so everyone's hips are set a little bit different. So wherever your toe is, that's where your knees want to track. And this movement starts at the hip. So the number one mistake that I see is that people will start a squat at the knee. Okay, knee bends, I think they used to call them. Like my grandpa used to do knee bends when he was in the army, okay? And that's a squat, but they're starting at their knees. That's the number one mistake that you want to make, that you're making. You want to think about it like you're sitting in a chair, okay? Because it is you lifting and lowering out the chair. I want your butt searching for the chair behind you. So I reach first with my butt. I hinge slightly at the hips, and then I sit back in that imaginary chair, and then my knee tracks with my toes, drive up through the whole foot to stand, okay? So that's your basic squat. And I want you to know you do not need equipment to get started on this, okay? So your squat, if you are strengthening your lower body and working on your squat, body weight squat is plenty. You can work on reps and time under tension. So that would be sitting into the squat and holding it like against the wall, or just an isometric squat. We worked on this last year. If you were with me last year inside of Cali Fit Body, we did a squat challenge, and we did a progressive squat challenge that by the end of the month, I think we did it in December, by the end of the month, you were doing up to 100 squats a day, okay? And that's all. We were just doing body weight squats in different variations. And speaking of variations, there are a ton. So beginner would be a box squat or an elevated squat where you had a bench behind you, so you weren't squatting very far, okay? So like you would start with this range of motion. But for all of us, we're all getting up and down off the couch and out of your chair. You should be using at the minimum the chair that you sit in for work, or the couch that you sit in, or the chair that you sit in, or the table that you sit at. Like that should be your range of motion, okay? And if you need to hold on to something, then you're gonna hold on to something until you get strong enough. But you can then advance that all the way to that single leg pistol squat, which I know some of you are quite advanced in your exercises. Okay, that's the squat. Moving on, we go for the overhead press. Remember, it's just like you putting, like if you have nothing else, you can take your carry-on suitcase and practice and do reps with that, putting that over your head, okay? So we are talking here about a full upper body strength. So this is not just your arms, it's your arms and your back and your shoulders, your biceps, your triceps, everything has to work to put this up and then lower it down efficiently. It's gonna help with your posture. When we improve your posture, we're gonna improve our breathing. And when we improve our posture, we improve our confidence by this, just changing our positioning here. So frequency here, I want to see you including some variation of overhead presses in your strength routine 1 to 3 times a week. So depending on how many times you're doing strength training, you can be throwing overhead presses in there 2 to 3 times a week for sure. Your sets anywhere between 2 to 5 sets and 18 to 14 reps. Again, I've got that workout at the end, I'll show you. When we talk about form check, so especially for my beginners, if you are working on core stability, like we don't have it all right there right now, then do this work seated to begin with, because as soon as we stand, we start to activate more core. This is where I want you standing. I want you, feeling your full body, because in real life, the things that you're going to be doing are going to be mostly standing. So you could do it seated or standing. If you're standing, this one is hip distance apart. So we talked about squat was at your shoulders, and then for overhead press, you're right underneath your hips here. You want to have your knees soft, meaning they're not locked out, and your hip is tucked under. So oftentimes, number one mistake I see when people start to press weight over their head is we see like this big arch here. So this is too tucked. I want those hips locked in right underneath your shoulders, okay? Right underneath your shoulders, so you've got to squeeze your glutes to get them there, and then you're just pressing overhead, and you brace your core, okay? So it's not sucking in, but it's tightening up. You want to brace your core, all right? So there are many different hand positions and variations. We can do this with resistance bands. I actually think that that's one of the most challenging. So that would be like a long loop resistance band that you stand in, and then you can stand and press it overhead. That's a really challenging exercise, actually. Also, we can do this with dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells. We're talking about single arm, double arm, alternating, reciprocating, all kinds of different variations that we can do here with that exercise. Okay, coming into number 4, you guys are doing great. I'm trying to get through. I know I talk fast, but I know I also have a lot to cover. So far we're doing good on time. So, all right, number 4 is our plank. Okay, I have a love-hate with the plank. Okay, it is so incredibly good for core stability, upper body strength, for posture, and it really does hit the entire front body. Okay, so your entire anterior chain, right? So the plank is amazing. There are so many variations to the plank. You can actually be working your plank 3 to 4 to 7 times a week. Like you can do the plank every single day. You're going to increase your time under tension. So planks are an isometric hold. We're putting the muscles under tension and we're holding them there. There are all kinds of variations that we can introduce, but your form check here is that you want to keep, just like this picture is so good, like she's keeping her hips, shoulders, and heels are all in alignment here. There, she's strong. You've got, if you're doing a forearm plank, it is your elbow right underneath your shoulder, not ahead of it, but right underneath it. And then if you're doing a straight arm, the same thing. You want to have your arms positioned where your wrist locks in right underneath your shoulder. You want to engage the entire front body. So it's going to be work in the arms. It's going to be work in across your chest, and going to be working your abs, but also lock into your quadriceps. Pull your kneecaps back towards your hips and feel strong across that whole front body. That's going to really help your form, okay? And then the thing that we're looking for here is that we don't want that swoop happening in the lower body here, or in the low back here, and we don't want it pushed up, okay? So sometimes when you need to take a little rest, you're going to droop here. So instead of drooping, go ahead, tap your knees down, take a little rest, or push your butt up like you're going to do a down dog, take a little rest there, and then come back to this locked in form, okay? So some notes here is you can start this on your knees. So the biggest thing that will happen though when you're on your knees is I don't want you in tabletop. I don't want your knees right underneath your hips. Your knees are pushed back so that your shoulders go in a slope. So it goes shoulders and hips here. This would be your knee supported plank, and then you'd come to toes and it would bring you right here, okay? So there are so many variations. The half plank, I would put one knee down and lift one arm, kind of like a bird dog. My forearm, straight arm, side planks, reverse planks where we're doing the same thing, but we're flipped all the way to where our chest is up and our hands are right behind us. And then transition planks are one of my favorite because This one really is about how do you get your body off the ground. So it would be from your forearms, and then you would push all the way up to a straight arm plank. Incredible, incredible workout for your whole body, and so functional, you guys. Like, we want to make sure that these things, well, we're not limited by our own body about how we can move and take care of ourselves. Again, health span. I want to be mobile. I want you to be mobile throughout our entire life, and it starts now. And then finally, okay, let's get into the deadlift. So deadlift is one of those exercises where the whole goal of a deadlift is to improve your posterior chain. So to improve your back strength, to improve your hips and your hamstrings. But if it's done improperly, with improper form or too much weight, like, this is one where people can get injured in your back. Okay, so form is of the utmost importance, and no, you do not need any equipment to get started with this exercise. So the benefits, like I said, your entire posterior chain, your glutes, your calves, your hamstrings, and especially this low back area. Okay, and then we're talking about core stability, because the core isn't just the abs, it's the abs, the low back, and your hips. This all makes up your core. All right, so it's going to really increase core stability. The form check here. All right, so most importantly, you want to think about the deadlift as a hip hinge. But there are, even before we get into a deadlift that looks like this, we want to talk about, it's basically the squat form, but you're picking something up off the ground. So a squat would be you lowering your weight down and then pressing up. And then we would change that movement to a deadlift, where I'll just use my pillow as an example, where I'm picking something up off the ground. Okay, so I'm going to hinge my hips back, bend my knees, and then I'm picking this up, a weight up off the ground. This is exactly like picking your suitcase up, picking your kids up, picking your newspaper up off the ground. So learning how to do your deadlift and move properly is going to really be so functional for your whole life. Like, everything that you do with, picking your towel up off the ground. Like, I've heard so many people throwing their back out, picking up a newspaper, which is not weighted at all. It's more about just their form and their function and their movement pattern that they were using. They weren't being conscious of it. So first and foremost, it's a hip hinge. So hinge first and then bend. Feet are hip distance apart for most of the squat or the deadlift variations. There are some sumo variations where the feet are really wide, but for most of the deadlift variations, we are right underneath our hips, where our spine is stacked. And when I say our spine is stacked, that I really want you to imagine like your spine and all the vertebrae just like tick, 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 stacked. And when I do that, I pull my shoulders back and I pump my chest, I can already feel my abs start to engage right away. And then your cue for this is when we're doing a deadlift, like the girl is demonstrating right here. That's the Romanian deadlift. That's where we have a weight in our hands and our knees are soft. They're not locked out. It's not a stiff leg deadlift. It's a bent knee deadlift. Your cue is to imagine that you have a broomstick on your back. So on your back, and you're just going to hinge forward, keeping your back nice and flat, your belly button pulled up towards your spine, and then you're going to feel a stretch in your hamstrings. And then when you get that stretch, then you're going to just reverse it and contract, stretch and contract those hamstrings. I'm going to show you a little trick in just 1 second when we get into the demo workouts, but no equipment needed to get started. Your single leg deadlift is an excellent body weight movement for this. So you can do this holding on to something or with your own balance, but that would be just one leg. And I'm gonna just do my hip hinge, let that back leg float up off the ground and then stand. So if you are working on your form and you're new to deadlifts, this is a great place for you to start that single leg deadlift movement. So you're working on that hip hinge, activating that entire posterior chain with no extra weight, and you're going to see and feel a lot of the benefits. Okay, let me just recap really quickly. So we took you through these 5 exercises that I do believe that everyone should be incorporating into their fitness routine. I gave you different ways to incorporate them. I gave you those beginner levels and the advanced. I gave you some prescriptions on how often you need to be doing it. I want to remind you that these were not selected randomly. They were carefully chosen so that we could give you the biggest bang for your buck. So these should be in your steady rotation and can even be combined for an awesome total body workout. One of your like go-to workouts, whether you're on the whether you're traveling or you're hitting the gym and you have no time or no inspiration, or even if you're at home, I want you to think about these 5 exercises that you can do. All right, so let me give you just a quick example workout. I'm calling it the Power 5 formula. Here, oh, I can't spell apparently, but here is your beginner workout. An example would be that we would start with an incline walk. I gave you 8 minutes to start, 6 to 9% incline. This is if you've got a treadmill available, that 3 to 4 miles per hour. If you don't have a treadmill available, hit your stairs in the house, find a nice loop outside to walk in. Then you're coming in and you're doing 2 sets of these 15 to 18 reps. Body weight squats, just like we talked about, sit and stand right to your chair. Body weight squats, deadlift form work. So this one is, this is what I want to talk to you about. So you can practice your form by getting against a wall, taking 1 step out away from the wall, but then keeping your, so 1 step away from the wall. And then as you start to hinge forward, your glutes need to start hitting that wall as soon as I'm hinging forward at the hip, okay? So that can be your form check, is you imagine that you have the broomstick on your back, I take 1 step away from the wall, and as I start to hinge forward, I'm trying to press my hips against the wall, all right? So pressing my hips against the wall, keeping my chest nice and tall, and then I'm keeping my focus down on the ground and then standing tall. That is your form check. Form check deadlift, you'll repeat that. You can go seated, dumbbell seated press here. There's all kinds of variations, but the easiest one is just palms facing away from you, and then you're just pressing here, overhead press. And then a knee supported plank, that's the one that we were talking about, where I want your shoulders and hip going at an angle. You're not in tabletop, that's not a plank. This would be more of a plank, so you're gonna walk your knees a little bit further back and hold that for 30 seconds, and then you could finish up with another incline walk. If we go into what that would look like for an advanced athlete, we're talking about starting on an incline walk, 12 minutes, 9 to 12% incline, 3 to 4 miles per hour, faster if you need to, but I'm really just looking for a walk here. We would come into 4 to 5 sets, made up of 5 to 8 reps. So we could advance that squat into a split squat. And I say that it's advanced just because it's going to be more challenging in that split, because you're doing about 80% of the work here on your front leg. So a split squat, or you could lift your back foot in a Bulgarian split squat. Alternating dumbbell presses, so Arnold presses. So those are the ones you have your dumbbells and you turn and you press and you turn and you press. There's all sorts of variations for all of these exercises. A barbell deadlift, that would be one from the floor. If you don't have a barbell, you can do dumbbells or kettlebells. And then the transition plank was that one that I was talking about, where we're on our forearms and then we push all the way up and then lower all the way down. And then close it out with another incline walk. Okay, so thank you guys. So that is all of the exercises. That's a recap. Those are your little bonus workouts so that you can start to see how you can implement them. But know that you need to join us inside of the club by Cali Fit Body. We have created expertly designed programs to guide you through exactly what you need to do at home or in the gym. And they always include some variations of these exercises. So know that when you're getting into the programs, that they are not, we're not trying to throw the kitchen sink at you. We are definitely just giving you these base move exercises. They're not crazy. These are your foundational moves. And then there's so many ways that we can change them with slight variations. But the work that we do inside of these programs is not, you're not standing on a balance beam with one leg and I'm throwing balls at you. It's not that, okay? It's what you can do at home and on your own. So you really build confidence in your body and in your gym, all right? And in the gym or at home or whatever. So, and if you're not already with us, then I highly recommend that you get in. And if you're not ready to dive all the way into the app, into the fitness programs, then at least book a call with us so we can map out your plan and give you that one-to-one support. All right, and then I already dropped a link for you guys in the notes right now in the chat so that you can get access to the list that I'll be sending out the recap. So some reminders before I close this out. The summer shred is finishing up on September 1st. Just stay focused and committed on that. We are still in our Q3 habit, which is the daily tracking habit. Jump in as soon as you can. We're going to pull that habit all the way through the end of the year. It's going to be a tremendous benefit through the holidays to have that strategy down. So start playing around with it right now. One-to-one calls are part of your membership, and you can choose to just do one-to-one calls or to mix them with some of our programs. Is whatever you need. Yeah, take advantage of, and this masterclass is part of your membership as well. So thank you guys for showing up for yourselves today. And then also the weekly emails are packed with value. I want to make sure you're on the list. Okay, that's all part of it. Coming up for us, we have the Q4 habit challenge. I already talked about it in the beginning. We are going to be working on intermittent fasting. And I know I want you to be able to jump onto the next training, because our next training next month will be the 3 mistakes you're making with intermittent fasting. And those are the 3 that we are definitely going to avoid as we take on this challenge in all of Q4. There will be a mindfulness challenge coming up in the fall, just a short mindfulness challenge. And I'm really excited to run through that with you guys. It'll just be a 7-day challenge. And then we will start the Healthy Holiday Program. That's going to take us through the entire end of the year. We'll start in mid-November and then come through the end of the year with that. Thank you so much. Open for some Q&A now. Please add me to the list. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome so much. So Raj, it's best if you add yourself. So if you can add yourself to the list, and the link is just right here above. Otherwise, there is a chance that it doesn't get sent to you. So let me just reply to you so you got it. Because you guys have a lot of strict security around your inboxes, your business inboxes, so company inboxes. So please, if you could just add yourself, it's really easy to add. Anything else? Amazing. Thank you all for being here. This will be recorded and I will send that recap. Okay, let's see one more. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And it's always a pleasure. I will see you guys inside the app, and I'll see you on the list. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.